So I'm here with Alex MacCaw, the former CEO and founder of Clearbit, and now the CEO and founder of Reflect. And Alex, first of all, you're a great friend, so it's just really fun to see you and talk to you. And the reason that I wanted to talk to you today was because I want to share with the world this idea of, do you need to be the CEO? Do you enjoy being the CEO? If you don't enjoy being the CEO, should you actually be the CEO? And I remember there was a moment when you came to me and you said, Matt, I'm not having fun being the CEO of Clearbit anymore. And I think I said to you, well, Alex, if that's the case, then you're not the best CEO for Clearbit. Because if you're not having fun, you're not digging in and doing all the motions that are needed to be great at being the CEO. And I even shared with you that, Naval at AngelList had a similar moment. And he had this epiphany where he realized he could take himself out of the role and put someone else in the role, and eventually found someone who's just crushing it. And not only is Naval's life better, but AngelList is operating better and is creating much more value. So it's a win-win. And I remember you saying to me, Matt, yeah, but that's like Naval, and that's that situation that doesn't really apply to me. And you had all kinds of reasons why it didn't apply to you. Well, eventually you made the decision to step down as CEO of Clearbit. You started to Reflect. So hindsight is 2020. Was it the right decision?
Yeah, unequivocally, yeah, 100%. I'm happier now than I've ever been in my entire life. Yeah, I would say it was a very difficult decision. The first thing to realize as a founder is you don't have to be the CEO, which is a crazy idea for a lot of founders. Like, I think they think that they have to be running it. They make all sorts of reasons up, or at
Alex,
least I
not
did.
they. You thought
Yeah,
this. Right.
yeah. So I was like, I'm amazing at product, and without me, the company is going to fail because I'm this product leader, and the company needs me, and that turned out to be incorrect. And then you also have a lot of feelings around fear of failure, and what are other people going to think of you if you don't personally IPO the company? Are you a failure? Like, all of these things going through your head. It's extremely difficult to get to the point where you're like, actually, I want to leave. I'm not the best person for the company.
Well, actually, those are two different things. I want to
Yeah.
leave, but often your brain is telling you, but I can't, and I have to stay
Yes.
here because I am the best person. So how did
That's right.
you easily got to I want to leave. What was
Yes.
hard was realizing that you weren't the best person. What made you realize that? Or how'd you get there?
I really got to the point where I really, really wanted to leave. And then I was looking in the mirror and just thinking, man, what are you good at, Alex? You're really good at the 0 to 1. The stuff, the company was about 100 people at the time. Like, the stuff that was required at that point, are you good at? Not really. Things like communication, storytelling, getting buy-in, all this big company stuff.
Human conflict.
Yeah, exactly. All of that, I was good at enough that the company was doing it well, but was I the best at? No. Did I enjoy it? No. And what I realized was that 0 to 1 phase that I'm really good at is actually quite rare to be good at that. And there's not very many people who can actually do it. So I was thinking, honestly, the best place for me in this, in the system of is it's honestly just to do that 0 to 1 and hire someone to do the 100 to a billion. And so that was really when I was like, okay, now we're actually going to start the search for another CEO. And that's when I told my exec team, and that's when we got a search firm involved. And I can take you through that process if you'd like.
Yes,
Yeah.
because what are the lessons learned there? Because there are going to be a few people who are going to react to this and go, "Yes, I hate being the CEO too. I also have those same thoughts that I have to be in the chair, but I don't really want to be." And then they're going to think, "But wait a second. How do I actually hire a CEO who's actually going to know the company as well as I do, who's actually going to be able to, yes, they'll maybe be better at all that people management stuff, but they'll have no knowledge of the product, no knowledge of the customers. Like, how do I find someone that has both?
Well, so my advice, so let's just say you've got to this point where you realize that not only do you not like the stage, but you are not the best person. You're going to hire someone. Okay, so the next step, I think, is to go out and talk to people who've done it before, people like myself, or there's actually quite a few ex-CEOs out there, and ask them for advice. I did that, and some of the advice. So I chatted to Naval, I chatted to some other CEOs who've been through the process. First of all, it's a very reassuring chat because you see their lives and they'll tell you about their lives and they'll tell you the world didn't end for them and actually they really enjoy their new lives. So that will give you some kind of hope, which is actually quite useful at that point. And then the other advice I got was hiring an external CEO is very difficult. 50% of the time it fails. So if you've got a good internal candidate, try and go with an internal candidate. So that would be my advice to founders as well. If there is someone who is if maybe they're already kind of running the company anyway, they're your COO, they're well respected by the rest of the org, they are kind of the CEO in everything but name, and they can take over. If they've co-founded the company, even better, because then there's some gravitas associated with that. But if they haven't, just make sure that everyone kind of views them the same way that you view them, and that your leadership team would be very supportive. Everyone needs to be very supportive of this if it's going to happen. So that would be, I would first look internally. If that doesn't work, then go and find a CEO search firm, and there are companies out there that specialize in this, and they are very, very good at it.
To be blunt, who'd you use?
We use True.
Great. I've heard great things about True.
Yeah, I'd highly recommend them. So I guess the process is easier than you think and harder than you think. The fact that there's this limited pool of people who are capable of doing this, um, and but the search firm will know them all if they're any good. So that actually helps immensely. And so that part is actually kind of easier. It's much easier to find these people because almost by definition they have a good track record. They've
They're easy
created
to identify.
incredible companies. Yeah, exactly. So that part's easier, and then you have to do the interviewing. So for us, it took 6 months to find someone. We had a few dead endings, and I would say that the same goes for any search process. Make sure that you are not left with one candidate at the end. Don't put all your eggs in one basket. It'll take a lot of interviewing, and everyone will need to interview them. Obviously, it's probably you or the board's final call, but everyone is going to need to feel involved, even if they're not the decision maker there. Yeah.
Perfect. Makes sense. That all makes sense. And then I don't know if you did this, but my sort of little trick in onboarding an executive and certainly a CEO would be to not just bring them in and have them start the job day one and give them the responsibility, but instead have them come in and shadow the person who is currently running the company for 30 days, 60 days to understand how you do it so that they can take all the things that you do well, but then add on the things that they do better, as opposed to come in, complete culture change, day one, oh my God. I don't know if you did that or not, but that's my recommendation.
Well, I think that works for execs. I would be skeptical of that working with CEOs because I think they do want a total change. Like they're coming in, they want to set a new culture, they want to do things their way. And this is what you're hiring them to do. If you micromanage them, they will fail because the whole point is for them to do stuff differently than you were doing it. And so it maybe just depends on the person, but in my circumstance, I'd actually given up the reins of the company when I decided to hire another CEO, and made one of my co-founders interim CEO. And so we actually had a very distinct, like, 0 to 1 shift, complete binary shift, rather than Ross, the CEO. We ended up hiring Ross Moser, rather than him kind of learning the reins from me. I think honestly, so the kind of this is actually quite interesting. So the kind of guy that you, or girl, that you want to hire to run your company, and who should you look for? Now, ex-CEOs are one thing. They clearly got a proven track record. They've done it before. But also have a look at really senior executives at companies that have gone public. And if someone has taken the company public, that is that's very interesting, especially for the stage. So we hired Ross Moser, who was a GM at SurveyMonkey, and he basically ran all of revenue for SurveyMonkey. And he'd never been a CEO before, but there was not much for me to teach him, honestly. He already had been running much bigger teams, much larger P&Ls, and had a lot more experience for the stage than I had.
Well, as a general manager, he's responsible for the whole business unit. So he's responsible for
Right.
both the money coming in and the money going out. And that's actually gives someone the complete picture. So
That's right.
even though he wasn't CEO, he actually was CEO of a division, of a business
That's
unit,
right.
as opposed to being the head of a function which only saw money going out but didn't see the money coming in.
That's right. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So he has CEO experience within a company.
Yeah. And so how's it going? Well, Ross took over the company, and he has been in the seat for almost a year. He has doubled the company's revenue. We have the best retention we've ever had in the company's life. Company's break even. So it's just incredible. It is doing way, way better than when I was running it. So I should have, honestly, in retrospect, found another CEO for the company when we were about 30 people instead of 100.
That's awesome. I mean, that's the big admission right there. And thank you for being willing to say that. That he's actually, I think what you just said is Ross is doing not only a better job than you, a far better job than you. Is that
Yeah,
fair?
absolutely.
That's
Unequivocally.
awesome. That's the
Yeah.
liberating fact. So
Yes.
for founders out there who are having the same dilemma that they're no longer having fun in the CEO slot, it's no longer a choice between, but I'm the best person. It's actually now like, I'm actually probably not the best person. And there's probably someone who's
Yeah.
actually far better than me. How liberating.
Yeah.
And now the second part, that's the first win. The first win is that the
Yeah.
company's doing a lot better. Let's see if we get the second win. How are you doing? Can you please describe to us your life now and whether or not it's better than it was when you were sitting in the chair at Clearbit?
Oh my God, it's amazing now. So after I left Clearbit, I wanted to kind of get back to my roots and build a lifestyle business, one that didn't scale or take on venture capital, one where I was doing a lot of programming and product development myself, because
0
that's
to
what I
1,
love to do.
right?
Yeah, the 0 to 1. And so I started a company called Reflect. It's essentially a networked note-taking tool, and it's something that I use every day. My friends use every day. We just soft launched it, and now we have about 400 paying customers, and we're close to break even. And it is the most amount of fun in the world. This is the only meeting that I have this week, and my calendar is entirely open. I have spent the majority of the summer kite surfing in Puerto Rico, and then just coding in the mornings and evenings. And yeah, I've never been happier.
That is awesome. Now, but let me poke a little bit. But what about the prestige of being the CEO of a company that's doing $20, $30 million in revenue, has 100
Mm.
employees, has a beautiful office in San Francisco? What about that? What about that prestige being gone?
Yeah, I think some people might find that harder than others. For me, I never cared about that in the first place. I viewed any kind of prestige or notoriety. It's something I had to have in order to get the job done, in order to hire people, in order to sell investors. And that was kind of part and parcel, but it wasn't something I really sought out.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was called. It has not been a problem that my inbox. No one sends me emails anymore, and certainly not about Clearbit, and it's not something I miss personally. So other people might find that a little harder, but if you do really find it incredibly hard, then just start another business and kind of do the whole thing again.
Right, right, exactly. Well, actually, it turns out I think, Alex, what you've created now is actually far more impressive. I know you're not doing it to be impressive. You're not doing it for what other people think of you. You're not doing it for any kind of prestige. But from where I'm sitting, what you've done is frankly amazing and groundbreaking. So you've
Well,
built
that's
an
kind of
app that people are using, basically built it yourself. You've hired contract programmers to extend your ability, but you've built the majority of it. Your payroll costs are negligible, and you're bringing in. And you said you have $20,000-$30,000 of revenue. You're at break even. That's shocking to have built a product that's really good, works really well. The people are using it, love it. It's clearly going to expand dramatically from here, and basically on almost no money. You own 100% of the company, which I think is significant because what I think is, even in Clearbit, you owned a lot of the company, but even so, once you give away pieces of the company, suddenly you have other owners, you have partners. Even if they're only own, a few basis points of the company, they now feel vested in how they want the company to go. They're going to sort of argue and pressure, and now you lose control of the environment that you want to build. And so, I mean, there's a lot of pressure at Clearbit to grow into this massive thing. And I remember you very much wanted to stay at 30, 40 people and keep that intimate
Yeah,
family culture. And you were totally
yeah,
happy there, but the other people around the table wanted something much bigger. And so now you
that's right.
actually get to create and keep the exact environment that you want. And my posit is, shockingly, here's my prediction. We'll see if I'm right 10 years from now. Reflect is actually going to create even more value than Clearbit because you're going to keep it this super joyful place, and you're just going to make it better and better and better. You're never going to let it get beyond what you enjoy. That's my prediction.
Yeah.
Who knows if I'm right?
Well, that's very kind of you. We shall see. But what I found when I was at Clearbit, or just this happens, I think, in any company, is people are motivated by their incentives. Like it sounds obvious in retrospect, but if they have equity in the business, they're going to be pushing for growth, growth, and growth. And what I found was the push for growth was not from our investors, which I initially thought it would be. It's actually from your senior team. And that makes sense, right? That's how they're incentivized. So I mean, and that is great if you are on an IPO track, which Clearbit is, and you're venture backed, and that's kind of the name of the game, and that's what you set out to build. If you're just trying to build a lifestyle business, then I think it's quite important that you own all of it, and that you don't give out any shares, because ultimately it is quite disingenuous if you're giving out shares in the business and you are never going to sell the business. Um, if you are going to do if you do want to share the rewards as the business grows, then do some kind of bonus structure or some kind of profit sharing agreement. Um, but if you start giving out equity, then people are going to be like, okay, well, now we need to grow and grow and grow and raise money and yada yada yada, because this actually needs to be worth something. So if you can do it, and not everyone is in a position to do it, but if you can, I suggest bootstrapping it and owning 100% of it if your goal is to create a lifestyle business. To your point about Reflect maybe being more successful than anything I've done in the past, I think potentially we can keep it small and make it very successful from a revenue perspective because we're in B2C, which in B2B you need a whole army of people. If you're running a 20 million, even a 20 million ARR business in B2B, you need a lot of people. You need SDRs and sales reps and sales managers and product marketing and like the HR and to manage those people, you need a huge amount of people. In B2C so far, I haven't needed that many people. I have 3 other engineers, and that's it. Um, and there are some amazing examples of companies like WhatsApp, for example, that sold for billions of dollars with only a few people. So I think that is possible in the B2C world.
Yeah. And there's also another point that you and I discussed a while back, which really resonates with me, is that products, once they scale massively in terms of users, are very difficult to make better. Because now you're
Yeah.
dealing with infrastructure, now you're dealing with security, and so the pace
Hmm.
of code change slows way down, and just basically the
Hmm.
momentum and the energy slows way down. And so
Hmm.
you and I talked about how you create like you need a certain amount of users to test and see whether it's working and see what resonates and what people want to see, but you don't need more than that. And then and that's still a rapid change environment. You don't need big infrastructure. You don't need big security. And so you can iterate until the product just can't get any better. And then you can open up the floodgates and blow it out to the world, which is basically what Slack
Hmm.
did. And so if you're going to do
Hmm.
that, you need either really understanding investors or no investors at all. Because what you
Hmm.
can't have is someone breathing down your neck, or as you say, senior team breathing down your neck saying, we got to grow now, grow now, grow now, before the product is as good as it can possibly be.
So as soon as you start scaling and adding headcount, product development slows down to an absolute crawl. And often you will end up having to do big rewrites, and with a large team that takes forever, and you basically end up not releasing anything new for years. And so you have to make sure that you have an excellent product before scaling it. And Slack is a great example. I think they were in private beta for at least a year.
I heard it was
Um,
more like 3, but
super.
I'm making that up.
Yeah. I think it was a long time. Superhuman is another example. They actually have talked a lot about this process, and they have this small beta group that they test stuff with. And actually, that's what we've been doing with Reflect. Reflect has been in kind of early access private beta mode for about 4 months, and only recently have we started just, like opening the floodgates and like soft launching it. And I'm really glad we did it that way, because I think I'm very proud of the product. Like the level of quality is really high, and that is only possible because I was not distracted. I was not answering 1,000 support emails or worrying about marketing or this or that. I was literally just coding every day, focused on that product.
Let's go through the whole path. The path was started Clearbit, built a great product, had a small team, was really enjoying it, and then your senior team said, "Hey, let's blow this out. Let's really grow this thing." And you're like, I don't really want to do that," but you agreed because they were
Yeah, I
unanimous.
definitely agreed.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
then suddenly started growing it, and sure enough, they got exactly what they wanted, which is revenue started growing, the business started doing better, created more value, but the prediction and fear that you had also played out, and it was no longer fun for you. And then you got to
Yeah.
the point where, shit, like, this is like my baby, because it was your baby. You had this family that you'd created, and you didn't want to leave it, and you
Yes.
also had this thought that you're the product guy there. There is no other, like, you're the product engine. And
Yeah.
then you had this epiphany, and you say, fuck it, I'm just gonna go, and I'm gonna dive off the cliff, and I'm gonna first, Matt took over CEO, and then you hired Ross as CEO, and the result you've seen
Hmm.
is the business is now way better. And then
Yeah.
on your
It's
personal life,
unbelievable. Yeah.
it's actually even better. Sounds like than it was in the early days of Clearbit when you had that little family which you were wanting to hold on to. It sounds like your life now is even better than that. Is that true?
Yeah. I would say it's better in different ways.
Right.
And my only addendum to what you said, is all 100% accurate, is I'm glad I did it once. I'm glad I did it once. I'm glad I scaled a venture back business once. I don't want to do it again personally, but my God, it was so much fun, and I learned so much, and I grew up. I literally became an adult running Clearbit. Went through my 20s at Clearbit. So it was amazing. But I kind of saw it through it, and when you're through, and you just got to understand that and admit it and deal with it.
Awesome. I love it. This is going to be a very inspirational story, Alex, for a lot of people because there are a lot of folks who are in that same position. And this is probably, when I encounter folks who are in this position, this is the single hardest choice for them to make. I mean, your point example. All other things pale in comparison to leaving the CEO role because it is truly a one-way door. You can't, once you leave, you can't go back. And
No.
yeah, and you don't know how things are going to perform until you do leave. And so
Yeah.
there's a tremendous amount of fear there. And both you and Naval are proving that the other side can be way better for the company and way better for you as well. You can have your cake and eat it too.
Certainly.
Awesome.
Yeah. And if any founders out there want to talk to me about it, just send me an email. Alex@alexmaccaw.com, and I'll walk you through it.
Fantastic. Alex, thank you so much. That was awesome.
All right. Thank you. Appreciate it.